were founded after the London riots, when all we saw were burning buildings and all we heard was that this was a lost generation. As a group of young people, we decided we'd had enough. We'd had enough of seeing burning buildings. We wanted to see burning ambition and aspiration. We wanted to create a world where you can come from the poorest of households, yet still have access to the same opportunities as someone from the wealthiest. We are Generation Success, a for impact organization which is determined to create a world where your career opportunities are not determined by your birth.
The most valuable thing that Generation Success offers, I think, is knowledge.
Networking, opportunities and lifelong connections.
It's fantastic. It's educational.
Generation Success's events, mentoring, training, career advice and job opportunities provide our community of equality champions and student fellows with the chance to achieve their dream career and enable others to do the same.
The networking in this organisation is amazing. Every time I've been here, I've met someone new, I've gone on to make great contacts, and it's just all round great networking.
And when I come to these events, I don't feel alone and I don't feel scared about pursuing my dreams because I can see that people have been where I am now and gone to places that I want to go in.
It brings a very diverse group of people together. They all have a sense of wanting to give and support each other. And I think that really breaks barriers down.
It's great to really give that knowledge to someone else. Hey, this is what I've done, this is what you can do, really help them build their businesses, which I think is amazing. But for me, the real killer for mentoring comes from the other way around. It's kind of what I learned from them.
The real opportunity to share knowledge, whether that's from the speakers, whether that's from the people who network with each other, whether that's from the immense resources that the members have access to. There's so much knowledge, and as we know, knowledge is power, so it's giving everyone a huge amount of power.
Whether you're a dream hunter looking for that first rung on the ladder, an organization seeking to make a structural changes, or an established professional looking to give back and support the move to equality, Generation Success can turn your ambition into reality. The time is now to be part of that change. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another one of our live sessions. Woo! My name is James Adeleke and I'm Chief Executive of Generation Success. And I'm delighted to welcome you back. It's Thursday! Are you guys ready for another exciting weekend? I hope the week hasn't been too hard for you. Well, today is going to be a session that is going to be incredible. It's going to be all about how to stay motivated in the workplace. Now, for a lot of people I know, it has been tough. It has been really, really tough. COVID has made it really, really hard to stay motivated. People have been isolated. But before I go into that, in case you're not sure who I am, my name is James Adeleke and I am Chief Executive of Generation Success. And as the video said, we are an award-winning social enterprise that operates in several countries, Ireland, as well as the UK, to level the playing field into careers. Well, and I say welcome. So please do like, comment, and share. Because the more people that know about today's live stream, the better. This is an opportunity for us to get to know you, for us to get to know us. Sometimes it might just be me, and sometimes it'll be people in our community. So like I said, today we are going to talk about staying motivated in the workplace during the pandemic. So for a lot of people, the self-isolation process comes with a lot of risks and challenges, including a lack of motivation in the workplace. You might find it's tough to stay on task, get your work done, and feel productive. I'm going to share with you some following strategies, but then I'm going to bring in our expert in resident, and I'm going to introduce her later. But one of the things I'm going to say to you guys is that it's so important to set a routine. Um, the last week, I hurt my knee and haven't been out running at all. And that's messed up my morning routine. I could feel myself yesterday just getting really agitated, getting really agitated, getting really I've been told that my speaker is not working as well. So give me 2 seconds. Let me test this. Hello, 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 hello. That's right. You can hear me. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, so I'm glad you can hear me, which is great. Technical issues over. Woo. So yeah, so I was getting really agitated, really angry, and went for a run this morning, did my morning routine, and that really helped me. That routine is part of your self-care process. So whether it's at work, school, or university, you should definitely set a specific routine to boost you through the day. It works differently for everyone. For me personally, if I do my routine in the morning, I love that. Some people are not morning people. Some people are afternoon and evening people. It's up to you. It's your schedules, what fits around you. It becomes part of your toolbox and it can help you feel motivated. And I also know working from home can be difficult as it's not as easy to make a routine, particularly if you're working on your own schedule or if you have children, and things do get in the way. So later on today, as we're talking to one of our most important people at Generation Success, we are going to kind of share, some of the lessons we've learned through managing a team that operates across several countries during the pandemic. Another tip I'd talk about is kind of just limit your distractions. Remove those notifications. Stop trying to split your attention between multiple things. Establish a dedicated workspace and definitely focus on self-care and staying positive. The Mental Health Foundation found that in November 2020, almost half, this is 45% of the UK population, have felt anxious or worried in the previous 2 weeks. And this rose to 64% of respondents who had a pre-existing mental health condition. It's now even more important to ensure that mental health is a priority. And I say that because I think 2 years ago, we lost one of our mentors to mental health. She decided to jump on the train tracks and kill herself. And we didn't know. She had attended our award ceremony. She had spoken in July. And like a month later, I got a call from her best friend saying, James, do you know what happened? And it's interesting that even when someone looks happy to the outside world, inside they may not be so happy. So this is why today's conversation is so important to me, because it's more than just kind of how to stay motivated in a pandemic. Because motivation is one thing, but maintaining your purpose and staying true to what you want to achieve is another. And there's different techniques that you can put in place to make that happen. And employers can also do things to help you stay motivated. So without further ado, I am so delighted to be introducing our guest speaker, or my guest for today, Natasha Norman, who is our head of people at Generation Success. Woo! Natasha, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, James. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. So this is the lady who kind of sprinkles the secret sauce in Generation Success. We're all working really hard, but she's the person that makes sure that we all feel cared for, loved, and feel like this is the best place to work. So, so excited. So Natasha, I mean, would you like to tell people about yourself and also then what we're going to be talking about today?
Sure, thank you. Well, hello everyone. Delighted to be here, and thanks for that very inspiring and important introduction, James. As James mentioned, I am the head of people and culture at Generation Success. I've been there for around 16 months, and as the role sounds like, I am responsible for all things people. So that is being involved with the hiring, but really a focus on developing our team, ensuring that they feel valued, motivated, and really are able to be their best selves. And I guess just a little bit of background, which might help explain why I'm so passionate about what I do and why I think this topic is critical for any employer, is I used to be a lawyer. I worked in New York in a law firm, then I worked as a lawyer in another context. And I found it so difficult to see how much the culture of a workplace could affect individuals, their well-being, emotionally, mentally, physically, and their dreams, right? I mean, I was in a class of 15 people who started out with these big dreams to be a lawyer, and within a few years, everyone had left because they were burned. And I was just sick of people feeling like they couldn't fulfill their ambitions because of that. And I really believe from the bottom of my heart that, you know, work is work. It's not always easy. It's not lying on a beach, but there's so much that we can do, you know, in a team, in a work environment to help people to be their best. So really happy to be on here to talk about that.
Fantastic. Love that. Love that. Yeah. And, you know, I think if someone saw your resume, Natasha, they might think you're a spy because you've worked in New York. You know, could you tell us about the game poacher thing that you did as well, just for a second, and then we'll go into the topic.
Yeah, of course. I am a spy, James. I'm just not allowed to talk about it.
Truth comes out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure. I mean, I've had quite a varied background, that's for sure. And I think that's quite important because I think we are living in a world where the traditional one job for 20 years is no longer the case. And when I was doing it, I was slightly ahead of the curve. So it caused me a lot of stress moving from one job to the next. It's quite nice that now we're in a place where it's okay to try things. But what you're referring to, James, was after leaving the law firm, I was approached to work on this project kind of out of nowhere that was involving the criminal networks behind the rhino poaching in South Africa and Mozambique. It was headline news at the time, what was going on there in terms of the rhino killings, but also, as more importantly, is also all the deaths and conflict that were going on with the people involved with that, and that was really kept hidden. So I worked on that in the capacity as in legal, but also as a people and project manager, and learned more about South Africa and Mozambique than I thought I would in 3 years. But you know what? Every experience builds on each one, and you take little bits from each one everywhere you go. That was an amazing project to be part of.
I love that. I love that. You see why we think so highly of Natasha? You know, like amazing, pow. And like guys, Natasha, I guess, you know, what have you learned over the last year around kind of keeping motivated, whether that's individually or in terms of kind of managing this amazing group of people at GS?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I feel very blessed to be part of such, as you said, the word amazing, warm, supportive team. I think, as you said as well, this year and a half has been, I mean, it's unprecedented. So I think every one of us has faced immense challenges personally and professionally. I guess I'd like to start with what you talked about, the self-care, because for me, I think mental health and well-being is number one, because if you don't have that, everything else goes out the window. And I think what I learned this year is that you can talk the talk and it's, you know, you can know the things that are good for you, but if you don't do them, you will not be okay. And so, you know, to touch on some things that I think are important, and that I have needed to do myself to stay okay and try to encourage the team to do, you know, I love the phrase, it's okay to not be okay. I think before COVID, I personally hated, or I had like a real aversion to, especially in the workplace, saying I wasn't okay. I felt like it looked weak. I don't know if it's because I'm a girl and I feel like, you know, I'm always want to seem so strong and together. I don't know. But I wasn't good at being candid when I needed help. And I think I realized this year that I can't encourage team members to be open about how they're feeling and to ask for help and to be honest if I don't do it myself. And also that I needed to do that with you. You know, I needed to be honest, like, you know, you're my boss, to be like, when I wasn't okay. And ultimately that's so important, because if you don't, you know, you will suffer, your work will, everyone will suffer, and no one knows what's going on. So I think knowing and feeling and being in a place where it's okay to not be okay. I think, you know, taking, you know, motivation, I think doing things on a daily basis. You talked about your routine, whatever that is, finding the thing that brings you joy and sanity, and making sure that you do that, whether it's one thing a day, whether it's going out for a walk, whether it's connecting with someone, whether it is, I don't know, listening to something motivational. But what I want to add on to that is what I learned was the importance of having an accountability partner. I knew those things were important, but I'll be the first person to put my hand up and say, I go in waves, I'll be great for 3 months and then it'll fall off the wagon. And at Generation Success, we did this amazing thing at New Year's where we all shared out loud our goals, and encouraged the team to get accountability partners. And I was blessed to have our amazing sales consultant, Jackie, as mine. And just having that person to check in with, mine was to meditate every day, really such a difference, because I knew that I had to text Jackie. So when I was like, I'll do it tomorrow, it got me doing it, and it really helped a lot. So I would definitely encourage that.
I love that. And, right there, you've shared so many powerful insights, especially around that bit around it's okay not to be okay. I repeat that because I feel it's so important that people hear. Look in the mirror sometimes, be like, it's okay. Just tap yourself on the shoulder. The fact that actually you recognize that fact is a massive step, because like I said, often people either don't feel like they know that they are under strain, or they don't know in terms of they've pushed it into their subconscious. And physically they'll start to feel aches and pains. They'll start to feel kind of they start to feel kind of tired. They stay in bed longer, all that type of stuff, and they just ignore everything. But when you start to live by that mantra, it's okay not to be okay, it enables those type of things to come to the surface. Then you can really resolve it. you can tackle it. You can take a step back. It's fine. I also love the fact that you spoke about how Generation Success is a place where you feel like you can say that, and it shows that more employers should be creating those safe spaces. I think last year we were talking about our vision for people and culture. That's my fax machine. It's not a fax machine. It's just like, I don't know. I think someone's got a wrong telephone number and it's meant to be a fax. But I love the fact that when we met last year and we had when we decided what our vision for a Generation Success to be the better place to work, that was one of the things that you said was central to you, creating that safe space, because you also work with Mind as well. Do you want to tell people about that and why you wanted to make sure that was a core part of GS?
Sure, definitely. And just to follow on what you said, I think that, the reason that I felt that I have been able to do that is you yourself have talked about your challenges, and you are someone who is constantly positive and very outgoing, but you've also been very honest with us as a team about, when you've burnt out before, etc. And I think that in order to enable people to feel safe, and this is what I talked about, practicing what you preach, the people who are leading people, I feel so strongly that, it has to come from you, because otherwise people are afraid to do so. But yes, Mind, hopefully, lots of people know about Mind, but Mind is an amazing organization that does a lot of work in the mental health space. They provide all kinds of services, and mental health and well-being has been important to me for a long time. I kind of like the devastating story that James shared, also have personal experiences of close friends, colleagues, etc., taking their own lives, being very affected by a range of mental illnesses. And 1 in 4 of us have something, some form of mental illness. And to be honest, I think the statistics are probably higher these days, whether it's low-grade anxiety, overwhelm. And so I have been volunteering for the last 2 years, started out in person, now it's over the phone, where it's really checking in with people, facilitating support groups. So we've used the word support a lot, and it's the same concept. It's getting a group of people together and sharing your experiences, because just the act of sharing your experience with someone else is actually and can be incredibly freeing and empowering and just a relief. And as James said, often we're not even aware of what it is. I know for me, sometimes I'm struggling to focus. I reading the same sentence and my default is to try and push through it, but it never works. Like 1,050 times later of trying it, what works is taking a step back, trying to figure out what's going on, whether it's going a walk, it's just, stopping, trying to barge forward. And Mind is a really helpful resource. And I would encourage everyone to check it out because they have all sorts of groups. They have employer workshops, they have resources, toolkits. And yeah, they're just a fantastic organization. And I've learned a lot from them about, I would say, the art of listening as well. I think that's really important as well. I think often, especially if we've gone through things, we think, oh yeah, I know how people feel, but we don't. And I think so often it's important just to listen, take a step back and hear what people individually have to say and what they need, and then respond to that, because there is no one size fits all approach to well-being and mental health.
No, not at all, not at all. And actually, I have to say, I love kind of the things you've put in place here at GS. You've got, you've got the mental health Wednesdays. You've got kind of the mental health champions. Do you want to tell people about all those type of things that you've put in place to make this a safe place?
Sure. I think so. We have a nice array of offerings at GS. It's a continuous work in progress, like I think all things people, culture, experience related should be. But we have Mindful Mondays, which are an hour dedicated slot for any team member to jump on a Skype call. So I clear my schedule that hour. And right now I'm our mental health champion, but if anyone else on the team, we've had various other people become a champion too. We actively encourage that. It's the equivalent of a walk-in or a drop-in session in person. So no formal appointment needed, no need to talk about it before, just drop in for a casual chat about anything. We have Wellbeing Wednesdays, which is, that's the one, which is the first Wednesday of every month. We do a half an hour at lunchtime workshop dedicated to some well-being topic. So we've done a mindfulness exercise, we've done meditations together, we've done stretching, we've had talks on nutrition, we've had talks on positive psychology. Basically, it's take half an hour out. During COVID, we tried really hard to try and make it a bit more physical because most of us were sitting around all day. So we do that. We also share each week mental health and well-being related content, so motivational videos, articles. So we try and encourage people, if they're comfortable, to share back on the article, share their lived experiences, or just comment, to try and create a bit of community and dialogue around that. And we do this mental health, but we also try and have a lot of fun at GS and build a lot of connections, because I think that goes into mental health and well-being too, and motivation. For me, they're all one and the same. You cannot be motivated if you don't have good, aren't in good mental shape and you're not well. So we have our virtual coffees that we had earlier today. So every Thursday we have the whole team comes together and we either have a game or we talk about a fun topic or we get into breakout rooms and get to know each other better. We have a monthly all hands meeting where we celebrate, we give each other awards. We play a fun icebreaker where fun facts of the team. We kind of have random events. We, shout each other out. And our meetings are fun. Now you heard James playing music. We always try and incorporate some element of fun and play. Because I think that's, especially the last year too, where kind of social life and life outside home went out the window. We do that, and that ties as well, I think, to connection and community, because I think that's probably another fundamental pillar. I know that it's a fundamental pillar for well-being and motivation. No man is an island. I think we all know that, and I think that it is so important in a workplace to, especially this virtual one, to encourage people to collaborate and to feel like they're part of something. And that, they have people they can talk to and want to, and that they're part of a team. So we do that through coffees and meetings. And that's been a challenge for many organizations, I know, virtually. I think at GS, it's gone pretty well. It constantly, again, work in progress. But I think we managed to have a lot of fun, I think. And I've never met some team members in person, but it feels like I've known them for years. So I do think you can overcome these things by putting the right tools in place.
You can indeed. And I remember what I was going to say when I spoke about the vision we shared last year, where it was like we said it was really important to develop whole people. That, if people were broken, not broken, but if people were like impacted in so different ways, or they had an imbalance, it means that they won't be effective in helping us achieve our mission. And hence those elements around kind of making sure that they'll hold people emotionally, hold people in terms of kind of their skill sets, and hold people in terms of kind of the aspirations, and all the things that they want to achieve. And it's easy to say, but it's so hard to do.
It's very hard to do, and I think that as employers and people who are, you also have to be kind to oneself and do the best you can. But I think something I've learned too, this is related to COVID, is in a sustainable way. I think keep going. It's not going to be perfect all the time, but I think just constantly looking to improve, going back to listening, asking people what they need to thrive. And yeah, that whole vision is critical, well, that whole person, because in my experience, in any organization, it could be a law firm, it could be a corporation, it could be an NGO in Africa, it could be a SME, a social enterprise. I have never seen people manage to sustainably succeed if they cannot be a whole person, most of the time. And I think we go through phases, but if you want sustainable productivity, success, engagement, you have to help people to be their whole selves, because nobody, no matter how hardworking and driven you are, can give that 100% of the time, and you shouldn't expect it. And I really believe that as a business, that is detrimental for the long term. And there's so much we can do for people to work smarter, more efficiently, and to be able to feed those other parts of themselves that enable them to come nourished and refreshed to work.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Yeah, and it's more important during this period as well. Also just on that listening piece, you also reminded me, as well as kind of it's okay not to be okay. There's another thing which I've said, another mantra of mine. I'm gonna steal your mantra, but I'm gonna share my mantra, which is I'm doing the best I can at this moment in time. Like, we can always do better, but recognize and actually, everything we do is from a good place. And if it doesn't kind of work out well, it's fine. There's always tomorrow. That's like, I also say to the new team members, like, if you make a mistake, no one's dead. No one's gonna die from a mistake you make. It can always be rectified. So I think part of what I'm learning from you as well is like forgiveness. It's okay to forgive yourself. And is it forgiveness? I don't know how you'd say it.
I think, and I couldn't agree more. I think being kind to yourself. I think I've also learned that a lot. I think that, especially like you said in this this last year and a half, but at all times, I think we live in a world that's very pressurized, very competitive. I think more and more, there's so much going on that we put an enormous amount of pressure on ourselves. And I think that it is so important to remember that. I've actually been suggested to put that kind of slogan on my fridge, because I think, it's so helpful. Just as you said, at this moment, I'm doing the best I can for oneself. But also, I think it makes us more compassionate towards other people, because we realize they're doing the best they can. None of us are perfect. My favorite phrase is perfectly imperfect. We are all perfectly imperfect. No one is ever going to be perfect. I used to be, and working on it, a bit of a perfectionist, but it's not a good quality. It's not. It's actually a real debilitator, because sometimes you just have to move forward, try things. And that's a learning too. It's okay to try different approaches, and just do the best you can. And I just want to say one more thing on that. To me, that means reasonably, because I used to hear do the best you can when I was in school and think, oh, well, I guess I technically could stay up 18 hours a day, and oh, well, I guess I could, read another 20 pages, but then I'd be exhausted and burnt out. To me, today, doing the best you can means giving it as much as you can, giving it your all when you're working on that, working smart, being in a place to do your best, but also in every area of your life. And it's not all going to be equal. Like somebody said, you can't have it all at the same time. You can have it all. But it's just, I think, realizing when to give a bit more to one area, when to give a bit more to another. But to always just remember that, as Jim said, you're doing the best you can. Very important.
You so are. And I love actually the fact that you touched on that reasonable part as well, because I think at the moment we in this conversation we're given so many tactics, so many tips, and one of the best tips is recognizing that the best tactic is managing expectations. And it's not just manage expectations for the external parties, your stakeholders, to say, this is what I'm going through right now. This is kind of my capacity. Like we said, kind of be open, and it's okay to say I'm not okay at this point in time. And then manage expectations with yourself. Because often, we all put the pressures on ourselves to perform, and we set those standards, and it's like, yeah, just manage expectations yourself. Just say, take the foot off the gas, get the gas, calm down.
Definitely. And what's that great quote? I don't know who said that quote. Is it, we grossly overestimate what we can do in a day, but underestimate what we can do in a year? Yeah. I think, is that the quote? Something along those lines. Yeah. I think is very important, because exactly, I mean, I am definitely guilty of this, I'm going to do this, this week or this today. And and if I don't, I have two choices. One, I can beat myself up and feel, guilty and stress out about it, and that negative voice. Or the other is to say, hey, listen, we've just gone through a pandemic. I'm at a stage in my life, there are other things going on. And actually, I'm actually proud. I did the best I could, and with that latter mindset, then I feel more at peace, and I'm more likely to show up the next day and do a good job. Whereas if I have negative, whatever voice going on in my head, that is the opposite of motivational. So I think motivation comes, can come from, I think employers have a duty to help motivate their team. And that's what someone in my role, that is my job. But I also think that, as individuals, I think self-motivation is very important, and sometimes we need to understand how to do that, and that's when coaches, books, videos can be helpful. But I do think there are both sides to that.
I totally agree with you, and part of the last part which you shared, Natasha, was about kind of ensuring how you frame things. So we all say that words have no, for example, words have no meaning. You can call me anything under the sun, and it is based on how I connect with that, is how I emotionally react to that. And it's the same with kind of the work we do, the workloads, the expectations we set ourselves. It depends on how we frame it. I need to do more. I'll do the best I can. It does impact the motivations we have of ourselves.
100%. I mean, the quality of your life, in my view, generally is determined by your mindset. And that's easy to say, and I think it's probably for me the most difficult thing to control, but it really is. Reframing, the way you receive things, hear things, see things, think about yourself, it can be night and day in 10 seconds. And concepts like mindfulness and meditation, I think we hear those words thrown around a lot, and for people who aren't actively involved, I think sometimes they can just say, oh, okay, like another thing. But I think the reason they have become really popular and kind of celebrated is because they do enable us, if you're able to tap into that, to take a moment to pause and listen more to that deeper voice, which generally is the one that generally is it's okay, but it's the head. And so that getting into that pattern of reframing things and not hearing everything as negative, or I'm not doing enough, or haven't done this, and focusing on the positives is such a powerful tool at any point.
It's so true. It's so true. It is a powerful tool, and there are ways you can do that. So there's ways you can reframe it, so you can think about it mentally, this is how I'm going to look at the situation, or you can also kind of write down your thoughts as well. So if you find that you're in a negative pattern, or just write down that thought, and then ask questions of it. I'm not doing good enough. Why am I not doing good enough? And like go down to the 5 whys. And I've written it down. Writing down paper sometimes helps, especially if you don't have anyone to talk to. But I want, and Natasha, you touched on it earlier about accountability partners. When it comes to staying motivated, it's really important that you are conscious of the people you go to, the people in your network, and the reasons why you go to them. Because not every friend is the same. And not every friend should be the person you go to every issue. So like if you find that there's a friend that you go to but you end up leaving them kind of drained all the time, and you might not realize it, like what they say might be positive, but how they say it might impact you negatively. It's so important that you're conscious. So
definitely. And I think we're all different. I think that you can be really close to someone or admire someone, but your disposition just may be different. And I think there's a lot of truth in that, which is it's hard not to be affected by what others say, which I guess is why it's so important, as James said, that if you go out asking for advice or you're talking to someone about something sensitive, then it is probably a safer bet to talk to someone who is more aligned in their values, beliefs, makeup, etc. Right? Like my accountability partner, I know has a very similar, like the challenges I face, I know she faces too. So we're both very similar in like the challenges we have at work, in life, and kind of after 3 conversations with her, I could tell that. So that works very well for me. Whereas if I had gone to someone who was wonderful, but completely different, maybe, I don't know, much more aggressive or like get it done, or, like I wouldn't react well to that. And they might mean well. So I think that's very, very important, to pick who you talk to about things wisely, but also, it's great to get advice from other people. It is, but it's not necessarily the gospel. And I think it's worth, whether it's talking to a few people, whether it's, watching some videos. There are great people like Brene Brown who offers a lot of wisdom. Tony Robbins is very motivational. He always talks about that. What you focus on is what you feel. And that's what we were talking about, that reframe, right? Like focus on negative things, you will feel negative. So there's a whole list of things that maybe we can do a post about that can be really helpful, if you need someone, if you want to hear some of that reassurance and kind of getting into like a much more positive state.
It's so true. It's so true. And as you're talking, it made me laugh because we're humans. We are humans. Like we are such interesting characters. Like because even that whole thing around the friendship part, like your friend could be the best friend in the world, and they could be saying everything from well-meaning heart, and everything's right. Like they just there's like, don't worry about it, take it easy, and it might not even be like one of the where I'm going with this is sometimes our reaction to our friends, we should also ask ourselves why we're having that reaction, because it's interesting that sometimes a friend is doing all the right things, but because of where you are at that time and moment, you're like, in your head, you're thinking, it's easy for you to say because life is great. It's easy for you to say because you're always happy.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think what I love about our conversations, Dasha, is like one of the things that's really coming out is that need to become more self-aware of ourselves at every stage in life. And there's a book I love, which is kind of the power. It's by James Borg, which is the power of persuasion, and he starts off by talking about in every conversation, you are like you as the individual have the biggest power. So like how you build a relationship with someone, or how they engage, how they receive you, is predominantly determined by yourself. And if you have a person who you're getting on with, never think it's the person's problem. Think about you. How can you change the situation? How can you change the conversation? How can you change the environment? And it's the same with this, staying motivated.
Definitely. And I think that's a big learning I've had this year too, which is I'm a personal professional development like geek. I mean, it can never be enough. Sign me up to a coaching program. But I think, that's a very important thing to discover and work on is, for me, I call it seeing my part in things, which is, so, you know, if I'm upset at someone, or I feel, you know, oh, this person's doing this, or this is, they're making me feel, well, that we're humans, that's a very natural reaction. And I would never tell anyone not to feel how they feel, right? But I think that the things that we have control over are the things, at least for me, are thinking about, you know, what's my part in this? Like, are my expectations wrong of that person? Is it unfair? Am I blaming that person? Because actually, kind of as James alluded to, actually it's hitting on a bit of a nerve that, like, you know, I know deep down, or there's something that's irking me, and he, you know, his comment to me, I'm just saying that because James is here, right? But I think we can't control other people. And I think, you know, the pandemic, lots of people have been living in tight quarters and trying to work, and there's a lot of stress on what's my part and what can I control. You know, and what do I want out of this? Do I want, you know, is this constructive, or is it just emotion? And if it's just emotion, then as James said, it's probably more something to do with me. And I think that can be really helpful, because I think a real demotivator is resentment, or feeling, you know, angry or scorned, or right? That's not going to get you jumping for joy in the morning. So I think the more we can do on ourselves to learn how to interact with other people, and I think that's especially important in a workplace, in a team, or in a relationship, any domain. But, you know, in a virtual environment where we don't have the advantage maybe of the water cooler chats and all of that, I think, you know, being able to take a step back and reflect is very important. Oh, I think you've frozen, James.
Oh, I thought you frozen as well. I think we both froze. But this is so powerful. And yeah, like I said, you know, we're bringing out the fact that actually the 80-20 rule is quite different in, well, basically mindset, your state, how you frame things. It is really 80% around that motivate, helps with that is the core of the motivation. And then, you know, all the others.
I was just going to say, yeah, I was just going to say, I think, and then one final point on this is finding, we are all motivated differently. So like Daniel Pink in Drive talks about, right, intrinsic versus extrinsic. And then within that, we all are different in our terms of our drivers. I think something that's really helpful is to try and identify what motivates us individually. Like what are my motivators? What are my driver? What brings me joy? And then to try and incorporate that into work when we can. So for me, it's definitely learning new things, you know, like I love learning new things. I love feeling like I'm growing. If I don't, I start to feel really like skittish and not fulfilled. Everything else could be great. And so, you know, at GS now we have, you know, in the last year, we've got now mentors for every role. We already had personal mentors, but we're incorporating more and more like department trainings. And, you know, for someone like me, that's a massive motivator. And I know many others are aligned to that too. But, you know, for other people, it might be more, you know, team bonding events. Great. Take advantage of those. Suggest them. I think if you know what motivates you and brings you joy, and you feel in a safe enough space, which I would hope most workplaces are, even if it's just going to one person, just put it out there, you know, and I think, you know, if you put it out there like that, everybody wins. And, you know, there's a strong likelihood that someone else will feel the same way.
It's so true. It's so true. Oh, Natasha, this is a powerful conversation. I wish we could go on ever. Also, like, any final words that you'd like to share? And actually, I've got one last quote to share.
Any final words? I guess everything we talked about it's really tied into the same thing. Well, one big core thing, which is, you know, put your well-being first. And if you're a company or a leader, you know, put that of yourself and your team first, by doing all the things we've talked about. But my number one thing would just be kind to yourself. Easy 4 words to say, but really it's everything. Because if you are not, it will be incredibly difficult to, you know, to be happy, to find joy, to be productive, and people will feel that. Whereas we are all human beings, we are all deeply complex and vulnerable and imperfect. And I think the more that we can be honest about that with each other, the better place we all are to feel safe doing that. And I almost guarantee that we will be a better workforce because of it, and human beings.
I love that, Natasha. Amazing, amazing. And I just want to finish off with that, like with what Natasha said. I really want to highlight to people that motivation, as we've kind of shared today, motivation is fleeting. It does come and it does go. What will determine how motivated or happy you are, as Natasha said, is really the habits and the disciplines that you guys have. And within those two things are, as Natasha said, putting well-being first, being kind to yourself, developing good habits and routines. If you want to stay motivated during COVID, remember these wise words that we shared with you guys today. And before I close, guys, I'm going to kind of share with you what we've got coming up before the end of the year. Oh, it's been a powerful conversation. I'm like, whew, let me give myself a minute just to. So guys, like I said, that was a powerful conversation I had with Natasha. I'm just going to quickly share with you guys our upcoming events of the year, because we've got kind of 14 different events happening, and it's for our community, which we call our Success Seeker. So our community is called Tribe Success, or Success Tribe, Success Tribe. And within that, within the core of Success Tribe is our success seekers. These are young people who want to achieve success, who have not got into a career yet, and who may not have access to industry. These are the guys that we are helping every single day. When we create our programs, when we create our events, we have our success seekers at mind. And then we want them, the journey that we want to take them to is that they become part of our alumni. So our GS alumni. So they've got their jobs and they are helping us kind of change the diversity of the different sectors that we operate in. And then at the outside layer of our tribe is our GS allies. That is the companies, that is the mentors, that is the speakers, that is the alumni who now come back and give back through sharing their talks, through talking, through mentoring. So this is Tribe Success. And if you are not part of our tribe, I suggest that you sign up to it because it is an amazing organization, amazing tribe to be part of. But like I said, we've got so many things happening over the next 14 weeks. This is it. So as you'll see, we have a speed mentoring session next week. We have a careers day with PA Consulting. Now the careers day with PA Consulting is so, for me, it's important because PA Consulting have not released their jobs yet. They are going to do a recruitment round and they are going to recruit on a first come, kind of first served basis. Our careers day is before they release those opportunities, which are kind of graduate schemes, entry level roles, work experience, placements. So if by signing up to that event, you are getting a head start before anyone else. They are recruiting on a first come, kind of first served basis, because actually no, they're recruiting on an ongoing basis, which means that actually there is no recruitment deadline, but the earlier you get in, the more likely you have of getting a job at PA. Then we've got our kind of speed mentoring announcing, Black History Month special of our big event. We've got kind of a launch of our community program, Paul Hastings, speed mentoring with Log Me In. We've got our big events, which are our Black History Month special. Woo! Then we've got our City Careers Conference, which is going to be epic. We're going to have employers with jobs, different panel sessions, skill sessions. It's going to be from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's going to be a virtual environment. If you have not signed up, I don't know what you're waiting for. If you're serious about getting into industry, I do not know what you're waiting for, why you haven't signed up for this yet. And of course, we've got our, then we've got like a few more speed mention sessions. We've got our how to get a job in investment banking event on the 23rd of November. And then of course, on a monthly basis, guys, we have a CV drop-in session with Mag. Mag is a head of recruitment at a fast-growing business. He's been doing recruitment for over 20 years. We also have kind of 2 guest recruiters who join and do breakout sessions. And then at the last Wednesday of the month, we have our mentors meetup. So if you want to mentor, why don't you become part of Tribe Success? And then every Thursday, of course, with me at 1 p.m., we have our live sessions. And then we have our Success Seekers onboarding sessions, which I need to confirm with Lucy. So guys, this is it. This is GS, Generation Success. It's been a pleasure having you guys here. Thank you so much. Please like, comment, and share. From myself and Natasha, we say thank you very much, and we say stay blessed. Natasha, you're going to say goodbye to them as well?
Yes, thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, James, and thank you, GS team, for putting this on. And yeah, stay strong and kind to yourselves, everybody.
Ooh. Stay strong and stay kind to yourself. Have you heard that, guys? Stay strong and kind. Ooh. All right, so I'm going to play us out, and we're going to come. Take care, guys. See you soon.